Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kitbadger.com, out here for another course review. This being part 2 in our 3-day night vision course with Thunder Ranch. Picking up where we left off, beginning of day 2. We ended up meeting up by the, I believe it's the Terminator, and basically a big indoor structure, and started with a little lecture portion.
We're just going in and looking at some stuff and talking about some principles that we think are very important for this stuff. Is it all encompassing? No, it is not. It's like we could spend a week here, and by the time you were done with that week, you would kind of really know what was going on. But then if you don't continue to practice and apply that stuff on a daily basis, then it starts to go away. It's perishable.
The first part of the day was going to be an introduction to working in structures. And with that, kind of thinking through different things. One of the conversations we had was basically being aware of materials used. Do you live in a cinder block house, or do you have like stick frame, 2x4s and drywall? And then with that, basically think about caliber selection, all these other things, just considerations. Because this was definitely not set up as a CQB course or anything like that. But basically this part was just kind of a primer of like, hey, if you have night vision and you're going to be using it maybe inside your house, these are things to think about. And while it didn't go into the weeds, because CQB is definitely a very deep subject, basically kind of a primer, concepts and principles.
You should know how to clear your house. You should set your house up appropriately, mirrors in different angles and stuff, so I could walk out of my bedroom, I could see down the hallway, the mirror would shine back, and I could see into the corners of my house. We would all think that's a good idea. For instance, if you walk. But if I shine a light to see where I need to go, I go up to the door, I freaking wait a minute, open the door, and then step back into the room to get to the last safe space, right? Then that guy's not going to know where I'm at. And then you all saw that when I activated my white light, I was probably not where you thought I was going to be. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Cool. So you gotta master your environment. Like,
some of the stuff discussed was target indicators. So moving along walls, making noise, scraping along, different things like that. Again, target indicators. You hear someone brushing along a wall, you're like, oh, I know they're right over there brushing along a wall. And eventually kind of start building into those concepts and principles of basically pine rooms, exposing the least amount of yourself while able to take in the most amount of information and being able to kind of slowly, methodically work through rooms.
From this side, of which we're going to do both, okay? So for right here, at that point, we need to fight. Did he need to go into the room to solve that problem? No, he did not. He was able to stand right there, right? So I'm not saying hang out there. I'm saying if I cleared the room, slow, cautious clear, working around, looking for problems, and then I do that really good, and then I jump into that room and engage in some sort of a gunfight, that would be a bad day for everybody involved, versus if I just leaned out and those bullets that started coming at me were impaired, redirected, or something by this thing, right? Cool. Makes sense. Okay. Work it around, work it around, work it around, work it around, work it around. Now get deep in our room, get deep in our room. Brush up somebody, it's not a big deal, because over there.
We also dipped into getting through a stairwell, which there's no good way, but there's definitely ways that are better than others. And that, yeah, not easy, but it was really good to be able to go through and get reps.
Start on the corner. Ready? Step, 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 step. Okay, cool. Now you're gonna have to like switch foot so you're backwards. in order to gain access because your helmet. Now, Leon, you need to move with him. I have to get physical contact with his body of some sort, right? And now talk to each other. Step.
And even did a little bit, again, just kind of more a primer than anything, a little bit of kind of concepts and principles of two people going through. And not a CQB course, but it was thrown in there, thrown into the curriculum because, hey, if you're using these in your house because things have gone bad and emergency services are not coming to your emergency, like, hey, here's some things to be aware of. So overall, it was a really good portion. Next, we went into basically a daylight portion of, with night vision, exiting your vehicle. So again, probably won't be wearing your night vision during the day, driving your vehicle, but to basically get some reps before blacked out at night, things to think about. So for example, like how your night vision is going to be set up, like on your head, whatever helmet, whatever system you have to hold it. And yeah, basically how to exit the vehicle safely, get back, create space, distance, time, and get your gun up, get your night vision up. A lot of good reps during the day.
Good, Eric. Let's go, Tom.
Watch your muzzles with those rifles coming out. They need to stay downrange. I would not prance back like a fucking reindeer. I would move back with authority.
That afternoon, we went and shot some steel, which was always fun. Basically, just working through the day optics on our guns.
Okay. Did that feel good and it break clean? Yeah. Okay, no problem.
Like it's pretty close to where you live.
Everybody else rest easy for a minute.
Clover leaf for whatever, look at that.
Good, that impacted the left side, right?
Yeah.
Okay, hold center, send another. Okay.
We then dipped into medical portion, and with it, wasn't super involved, like wasn't a medical class, it was part of this 3-day night vision class, but value add. And all kinds of different things, especially when working with someone and maybe someone's maintaining cover and doing blood sweeps, looking for blood on your hands going through, because sometimes people get shot and they don't know they're shot, and you need to figure that out so your body doesn't bleed out. So working through that, and then also kind of working on someone, I guess you'd say, the victim, gunshot wound victim, and trying to figure out how to do it efficiently and not create a bigger problem. So sling manipulation. You have your rifle on you, and the last thing you want is your rifle or their rifle to cause even more problems. So basically how to manipulate your gun as well as their gun, whether you need to remove it from them or just manipulating yours so that it can be slung in such a way that you can safely work around them and give them the medical attention they need. We also went over tourniquet application. Definitely important. If you don't have any medical training, aside from tourniquet application, that's a good thing. Granted, they're only good for appendages, but they are absolutely life-saving. And if you look at someone, in the words of my buddy Bill Rapier, and you say, wow, that's a lot of blood, put a tourniquet on it. So went over putting some tourniquets on as well. Then, once it was dark, time to break, have dinner, lunch, whatever it was, and then another nature walk. This time, I won't say it was like harder, but definitely more terrain this time. So rather than kind of staying on paths and stuff like that, kind of branched off, started going through trees and under and over things. And again, really good, just the mobility side of getting to use your night vision. And after going probably, I don't know, a mile or two, eventually made our way back, and it was time to do some shooting. We ended up doing some passive shooting, basically using whatever type of optic you had, so not emitting a laser, any type of energy, and getting our hits that way. And then of course, doing some more shooting, activating those lasers. And once it was dark, it's time to get back in those vehicles. And basically now at night, under nods, work on exiting those vehicles, getting your nods up, getting your gun up, and yeah, just getting some good reps. That right there wraps up day 2 in the 3-day night vision course with Thunder Ranch. I think, big picture, one of the things I really appreciate about this course is the fact that while it doesn't dive into the weeds necessarily on like one aspect of using night vision, basically you get this primer across the board, whether it's working in structures or doing medical stuff under nods or even like vehicles. Went over some stuff like, hey, be aware if you're driving, this and that, all these little things, whether it's just like, hey, you need to black out your dashboard because usually you can't. You can go ahead, like cut cardboard to fit, things like that. And then, yeah, like how to get out of your vehicle safely with nods and get your gun up. All these different things. And again, can only fit so much in 3 days, but lots of information, really great class. And be sure to join me as we wrap it up with day 3 in that 3-day night vision course. And if you appreciate my content and want to support it, greatly appreciate it. One of the ways is by supporting me directly through Patreon. It helps me go out, create more content for you. And usually get first access to videos as well as some exclusive content. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm not really down in the comments section because I don't like having to wade through that stuff, but if you have questions for me, we have active Discord over there. Happy to answer all your questions over there. And as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Then if you had a method of communication, I would not use a verbal like countdown or anything like that. I'd get a non-verbal cue, a very hard dip, right? Some dudes like, okay, when I raise my muzzle, that's your cue that you're able to go, right? And if he knows what he's doing, then cool. Some people use hard muzzle down, that's your cue to go. If I saw that laser spill on the ground, hard muzzle down, I know as the #1 guy that I can go, so that's an option. All these are just options. What's the right way to do it? I don't know, man. I don't know how much you guys train.